Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making number 1 in the treat box series. If you've watched any of the other videos, you will probably know the construction method. So once I've given you all the measurements for the front and back panels and the side panels, you can probably skip the rest of the video and carry on happily on your way. Whilst the depth or the width of the boxes might vary depending on whether I actually need to use them myself or not, the overall size of the starting template is going to be the same, so that you can use 2 or more numbers in conjunction if you need to. I do also try to make the measurements that we use whole eighths rather than 16ths, so you can then change up the measurements as you need to suit your particular needs. As always, we're going to start by making the template for the number,
which you'll then cut out and draw around on your base cardstock to create your front and back panels.
Our starting cardstock is going to be 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches. I'll start by giving you all what in my case are score lines, but you may either want to mark these in on your scoreboard with your stylus or mark them with a ruler and a pencil. You'll mark from top to bottom along the short edge at 1 1/8 of an inch, 1.5 inches, and 3 inches. So that's going to give you your 3 vertical score lines. On the long side, you'll mark at 1.5 inches, 4 7/8 of an inch, 5 1/4 inches, and 6 inches. You're then going to draw a line between the various points to create your 1 template. So your 3 line will come down to your 1.5 line and across to the right. Your line at 1.5 inches will come across to the 1.5 inch line down and then go up to the 5 1/4 inch line. That will then come down to where the 1 1/8 line and the 4 7/8 inch line intersect, diagonally up to the 6 inch line, and then back across to the 1.5 inch line. And that will give you your template. If you imagine this is on your base cardstock, I'm now going to give you the measurements for the long strips which are going to go around to join the front and back panels together. In this particular instance, the opening for the box is going to be at the top here, but as I've mentioned in my other videos, you can change the location of the opening by changing the lengths of the strips. In addition, you don't need to create the long strips as I do. You may, for instance, decide that you want to use up some of your scrap strips of cardstock and you might want to cut each piece individually. It's a good way of using scraps up. The only thing to bear in mind is, in addition to the measurements for each side, add on an extra 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch your chosen glue tab so that you can join the pieces together. Before I give you the measurements, I would recommend that you measure the length of each of the sides on your box. The strips I'm going to give you are going to be in line with the length of my measurements. If yours are slightly different, even if it's by a 16th or something, you will need to readjust the length of your strips and your scoring points on those strips accordingly. In my particular instance, the width of my box is going to be 1 inch. I've therefore cut all 3 strips to 2 inches wide, which has given me a 1/2 inch glue tab, my 1 inch width of my box, and a 1/2 inch glue tab. So depending on the width of the box that you want, you will have the width of your box plus a 1/2 inch side on the left for your glue tab and a 1/2 inch side on the right for your glue tab. So this is strip A, as I said, 2 inches. This strip is 10 inches long, scored at 2 1/8, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 8 and 9.5. Strip A is going to run down, down, up, down to here, and then there will be a glue tab. Strip B is going to run down this side here, along the bottom, up this side, along here, and then there'll be a 1/2 inch glue tab. Strip B is 9.5 inches long, scored at 1.5, 6, 7.5, and 9. Finally, strip C, which is this long side section and then incorporates the opening flap and the flap to go down inside the box at the top. This is 8 inches long and this is scored at 6 and 7.5. We'll work on the 3 side strips, and on all of the strips start by folding and burnishing the long side glue tabs. What you may choose to do is, as you start to fold and burnish your side score lines, you may want to fold them into the direction that they're going to run in around the side of the box. So for instance, this piece here is equal to this piece here. So this first score line would be a mountain fold. So that will come around like so. The next score line is also going to be a mountain fold. So that will come up there. The next score line is going to be a valley fold. So this is the one that's going to sit in the piece here, and the next one will also be a valley fold, and then we will have our glue tab, which will be a mountain fold. So as you're working your way around burnishing the score lines, you may at the same time want to start to manipulate your pieces of cardstock into the shape that they're going to sit in on your front or back panel. We'll now create our glue tabs. On each section, we're going to cut up the score line within the 1/2 inch side tabs all the way along, and we will do this on both sides. And then we will take a wedge from the ends of each of the separated sections to create our glue tabs. You will do that on both sides, and then at the end with the 1/2 inch section on the glue tab for pieces A and B, we will remove the bottom left and right hand squares and just take a wedge from the end. So this will create the glue tab where we will add strips together as we're moving around the box. In addition, in piece A, which is this one, you may wish to add a finger notch into the top like so. And in relation to piece C, which is the long side section and the opening tab, when you cut the glue tabs, you separate the long section like so, and this is the flap which is going to sit down inside the box. So you can decide whether you want to shape that or not. You can see I've shaped the back of that one, so I'm going to shape that like so. I'm going to leave the front edges flat, and I will shape those once I see how much I need to trim away for the lid to fit neatly inside the box. When you come to the 1/2 inch section at the end, cut the squares away, and rather than being a glue tab, this is the flap that's going to sit down inside the box. You may decide to leave those straight. You might want to shape those, or my personal preference is to round off the corners. Once your pieces are cut, it's just a case of working your way around, adding the various sections into place on your front or your back template. And hopefully you should find that if you've measured each of your pieces and made any adjustments as necessary, your pieces should fit nicely around. You can see it's easy to flex the pieces around to add the glue. What I would say is, remember, this is hand cut. It's not cut with an electronic die cutting machine. So there is always room for a little bit of error. Perhaps if one score line has not been burnished thoroughly. And if you do find you have any overhang between the front or back panel and the side panels, you can of course go in and trim off any excess around the side if you need to. But you can see that this so far is fitting on there quite neatly as we move our way around the box. Take strip B. I'm going to start by adding strip B and strip A together with the glue tab, then I can continue adding strip B in place. And just remember, when you come to your last section on strip C, you're only adding glue to the last glue tab, because the rest of strip C needs to remain free so that the lid can open and close. Once your side panels are in place, I'm going to work my way round, and where one glue tab runs over the top of another glue tab, I'm just going to add some glue so that they can stick on top of each other, and that's also going to help the box to stay in its number shape. And then the final element will be to add the top panel on. I'm going to use my construction glue for this. It will give me a little bit more time to manipulate the pieces into shape if I need to. Remember not to add glue to the top section. Keep this one well out of the way, and then I can take my second number and add it on top and gently manipulate the pieces and the sides into place to put the box into the shape. Take my lid section and just see how much I need to cut off the front of the flap so that the lid can go down. I'm just going to trim the slightest piece off of there, and then my lid fits inside the box nicely like so. So I'll now give you the measurements for the matte layer, and I would suggest again that you make a template first rather than cutting straight into your chosen patterned paper. Just make sure you're going to like the look of the matte layer on top. And remember, when you're cutting the template out onto your patterned paper, you'll cut one with the template face up and one with the template face down, so that your patterned paper is always facing outwards on the sides of the box. Your starting cardstock for the matte layer will be 4¼ inches by 7¼ inches. Along the 4¼ inch side, you'll mark at 1/8, 1½, 2 3/4, and along the long side you'll mark at 1¼ 5, 5½, and 6. And again, you'll join up the various marked points to create your one template as I've done here. And this will then sit on the top of the box like so. So there we have today's box. I'll just bring in the number 4 so you can see, although they're a different depth, this one's only 1 inch and this one's 2 inches, you can see that proportionately the boxes are the same height and the same width. So that's how they would sit side by side. The next number in the series will be a number 3 followed by a number 8, and I will then eventually start to work my way through the last few remaining numbers. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.